For those who are not in the Hollywood world, what is wrong with her taking over the film?
I've never seen it before in my 30-plus year career in Hollywood. And an executive producer is below a producer in the film world. An executive producer signed up to be an executive producer, and that's it. As the time progressed in this film, she decided that she wanted to be a producer. She started to make edits. She wanted to be part of the editing team.
This footage, which appears in the finished version film It Ends With Us, only in this brief slow-motion montage, appears to show the two stars discussing how to play the scene as they slow dance. Baldoni's team says the 3 takes of this scene, reportedly shot in May 2023, show that what took place on set doesn't match claims of sexual harassment that Lively made an illegal complaint last month. According to the complaint, while filming a slow dance scene, Baldoni was, quote, caressing Miss Lively with his mouth in a way that had nothing to do with their roles. In the raw footage released by the director's attorney, the two stars can be heard talking about production details while playing to the camera as a couple in love. The complaint says Baldoni, quote, dragged his lips from her ear and down to her neck as he said, "It smells so good." Baldoni's representatives say that the tape proves it didn't happen.
I'm probably getting a birthday on
It smells good.
Well, it's not bad. It's my body makeup.
Lively's legal team firing back in a statement, quote, Justin Baldoni and his lawyer may hope that this latest stunt will get ahead of the damaging evidence against him, but the video itself is damning. Lively's representatives say that the footage corroborates her account of what happened, arguing that it shows Baldoni, quote, attempting to kiss her, kissing her forehead, rubbing his face and mouth against her neck, flicking her lip with his thumb, caressing her, telling her how good she smells, and talking with her out of character, adding that no woman should have to take defensive measures to avoid being touched by their employer without their consent.
If you thought Hollywood couldn't get any messier, buckle up because the latest scandal might just blow everything else out of the water. Blake Lively, the queen of red carpets and polished Instagram moments, is no stranger to drama on screen. But this time, the drama is real, ugly, and spiraling out of control. The actress, known for her poised image and meticulously curated public persona, has found herself at the epicenter of a courtroom circus so chaotic that even her own legal team is tripping over itself. It started out simple. Lively accused It Ends With Us director Justin Baldoni of sexual harassment, claiming he crossed the line during an intimate scene in the film. But in true Tinseltown fashion, this wasn't just another #MeToo moment. It escalated into a full-blown war of reputations, accusations, and jaw-dropping revelations. Baldoni fired back with a staggering $400 million defamation suit, accusing Lively of fabricating claims to sabotage his career and force her way into the editing room to exert control over the film's creative process. But that was just the tip of the iceberg. Because soon, the battle wasn't just about misconduct, it became a bloodthirsty media war, and suddenly no one seemed innocent anymore.
The drama between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni has now escalated into a full-blown legal battle, with both stars suing each other over a tangled web of claims that revolve around their collaboration on the 2024 film It Ends With Us.
Today, moments ago, the judge overseeing their federal case in New York, Judge Lyman, ruled on the former B-list actress's request for an additional layer of protection. The unliftable Blake was not happy with the standard protective order in the case. She wanted an attorney's eyes only designation. And the judge has granted that. Congrats to Taylor Swift. Of the judge's ruling, a spokesperson for Delulu says, quote, today, the court rejected the Wayfarer party's objections and entered the protections needed to ensure the free flow of discovery material without any risk of witness intimidation or harm to any individual's security. With this order in place, Ms. Lively will move forward in the discovery process to obtain even more of the evidence that will prove her claims in court.
Blake Lively is accusing Justin Baldoni of sexual harassment, followed by an attempted PR takedown of her to cover his own ass from people finding out what he did to her. In an article titled, "We Can Bury Anyone," Blake Lively heroically shared her story and the world was on her side because it looked like she was just trying to take down a predator in Hollywood. So Justin Baldoni and his ace lawyer launched an all-cylinder fire attack to clear his name, and he started by suing the New York Times, saying that article was just published because it was paid for by Ryan Reynolds and it was a multi-layered scheme planned out by Blake and Ryan to take down Justin. And I think it's pretty common knowledge that the mainstream media will lie on behalf of their powerful friends or anyone who pays them off to say certain things. But this will be tough because the New York Times has never lost a lawsuit in their life, but Justin just released some very piping hot information that seemingly proves that Blake and Ryan Reynolds were colluding with the New York Times for months.
We plan to release every single text messages between the two of them. We want the truth to be out there. We want the documents to be out there. We want people to make their determination based on receipts.
Justin Baldoni is firing back after Blake Lively filed a lawsuit against the actor, accusing him of unprofessional and sexually inappropriate behavior on the set of It Ends With Us. She also accused him of coordinating a smear campaign.
Was there a coordinated smear campaign to bring down Blake Lively?
100% no.
Baldoni is now suing the New York Times after the paper published a story about Lively's allegations.
Do you plan to sue Blake Lively?
Absolutely.
You will?
Yes.
Baldoni claims that the text messages in Lively's lawsuit were taken out of context or excluded. The New York Times said in a statement that they stand by their reporting and plan to vigorously defend against the lawsuit. Lively said previously that she hopes her suit helps pull back the curtain on these sinister retaliatory tactics to harm people who speak up about misconduct.
This was a sinister PR move. Blake Lively then moved 11 days later to file a lawsuit. So now she has filed a lawsuit. And I don't think she ever wanted to do this. I think she genuinely wanted this to be a PR move, and she wanted to leak it to the New York Times. She thought the public would take her side with no questions asked. And instead the public is saying, no, we have a few questions here. And Justin Baldoni is going all the way to the wall on this. His lawyer is already giving interviews explaining just how nasty her team has played this. The lawyer's name is Brian Friedman. He stopped by the Megyn Kelly show, and here's some of the things that he had to say. First, he says there used to never be a sexual claim. There never was a sexual claim until she went to that civil rights office. Take a listen.
There was actually no allegation of sexual harassment until the lawsuit was filed.
If you thought Hollywood couldn't get any messier, buckle up because the latest scandal might just blow everything else out of the water. Blake Lively, the queen of red carpets and polished Instagram moments, is no stranger to drama on screen. But this time, the drama is real, ugly, and spiraling out of control. The actress, known for her poised image and meticulously curated public persona, has found herself at the epicenter of a courtroom circus so chaotic that even her own legal team is tripping over itself. It started out simple. Lively accused It Ends With Us director Justin Baldoni of sexual harassment, claiming he crossed the line during an intimate scene in the film. But in true Tinseltown fashion, this wasn't just another #MeToo moment. It escalated into a full-blown war of reputations, accusations, and jaw-dropping revelations. Baldoni fired back with a staggering $400 million defamation suit, accusing Lively of fabricating claims to sabotage his career and force her way into the editing room to exert control over the film's creative process. But that was just the tip of the iceberg. Because soon, the battle wasn't just about misconduct, it became a bloodthirsty media war, and suddenly no one seemed innocent anymore.
Last week it was reported that Blake Lively was being sued again, this time by Jed Wallace, who, like I said, owns the crisis PR firm Street Relations Inc. Now, not much is really known about Jed Wallace, other than what Lively alleged about him in her California Civil Rights Department complaint, or her CRD complaint. Reports about Wallace's lawsuit were combined with questions by journalism outlets asking, basically, who is this guy anyway? And that will be important to remember for later on in this video. But in her CRD complaint, Lively named Wallace as one of the defendants for her 10 causes of action. And she specifically alleged that Jed Wallace was a subcontractor hired by Baldoni's PR team to weaponize, quote, a digital army around the country from New York to Los Angeles to create, seed, and promote content that appeared to be authentic on social media platforms and internet chat forums, unquote. However, if you then look at the lawsuit that Lively filed in New York federal court, the one she actually filed, Jed Wallace and Street Relations Inc. were no longer named as defendants, although Lively still does allege all the same things about him weaponizing a digital army and whatnot. And now, Wallace filed a complaint in Texas federal court which alleges 2 main causes of action. First, it asks for declaratory judgment under the Federal Declaratory Judgment Act.
2023 writer's strike, Baldoni started editing the footage that had already been shot. But that's when Lively apparently expressed a strong interest in accessing the raw dailies. These usually aren't shared with the cast, according to Baldoni. But Lively apparently also wanted to have a hand in the editing process, and the text from her appears to read, "Hey, would you mind giving me access to the dailies? I appreciate you may be too slammed right now to make this happen, but maybe someone else can facilitate?" And just to put a point on this, dailies are a critical point of the filmmaking process, the editing process. The actors don't typically get access to them. If they do, it's usually rare, requires special permission. But here, Lively allegedly repeatedly pushed for access to this because it was evidenced by her follow-up text in July of 2023 that reads, "Please let me know who to reach out to get access to the full gallery of dailies. I'm so looking forward to seeing all that we have in the can." This request allegedly raised some concern among the film's crew. The producer and the CEO of Wayfarer Studios, Jamie Heath, are reportedly shown to be against granting Lively access to the dailies because the messages from the lawsuit reveal their apparent resistance to the idea. There's one that says, "I'd say no, but check her contract first." That's what one producer says. And then a response, supposedly from Heath, says, "It's an absolute no from me as well." This series of texts shows that while Lively seemed to be involved and invested in the production, she was also seen by some crew members as trying to maybe overstep professional boundaries, particularly when it comes to the editing process. Baldoni argues that Lively's attempts to control these aspects of the film, like the editing and the wardrobe choices, were part of a broader strategy to manipulate him and assert her power and dominance over this project. And this is where things get even more interesting.
Baldoni claimed that Lively and her husband, Ryan Reynolds, had secretly conspired to ruin his career. According to Baldoni's legal team, Reynolds had allegedly paid off journalists at the New York Times to publish a scathing expose that painted Baldoni as a manipulative predator. The story, titled "We Can Bury Anyone," hit headlines like a sledgehammer. It painted Baldoni as a ruthless director who used his position to exploit actors while intimidating his team into silence. Lively was framed as a heroic whistleblower, bravely exposing a dangerous Hollywood predator. But Baldoni wasn't about to let that narrative stick. He claimed the entire story was built on lies, and worse, that Lively herself had been orchestrating the whole thing from the beginning. Baldoni's attorney, Brian Friedman, dropped bombshell allegations that Lively had weaponized her star power to pressure production teams and manipulate media narratives. Friedman even claimed that Lively had threatened to withhold promotion of It Ends With Us unless she was granted creative control over the film's editing process. Text messages allegedly show Lively repeatedly demanding access to raw footage, sparking concern among producers who resisted her demands. One message reportedly read, "It's an absolute no for me," in response to Lively's persistence.
December 21st, winter solstice 2024. The New York Times published a story titled "We Can Bury Anyone Inside a Hollywood Smear Machine." In a related video, they shared the video featuring New York Times journalist Megan Twohey, who co-wrote the article along with Mike McIntyre and Julie Tate, purporting to tell the world what really happened. Specifically, that the Wayfarer parties orchestrated a retaliatory campaign to tarnish Lively after she alleged that Baldoni and Heath engaged in misconduct while shooting the film. The article and video echoed and compounded the baseless accusations made by Lively and her co-defendants, the Lively parties, about the Wayfarer parties and falsely accused them of having waged a smear campaign. So we know all of this all right. This is just a summary to catch people up to the story. But that is not what the New York Times did. It admittedly based its article and video on its reporter's review of thousands of pages of documents and expressly credited Lively's claims, framing them as having been verified by the New York Times' own investigation.
Ask for declaratory judgment if they feel that they're under threat of litigation by another party who may or may not try to sue and who may or may not try to maybe take advantage of that ambiguity somehow. So here, what Wallace is saying is Lively has accused the plaintiffs here of 10 different causes of action, and he would like a judge to actually look at the evidence and decide that no, Wallace and Street Relations Inc. aren't liable for any of this. So he's essentially affirmatively bringing that lawsuit onto himself so that he can disprove it. And that's the first claim in a nutshell. The second claim is defamation. It basically says Lively falsely stated that Wallace and Street Relations Inc. engaged in 10 illegal acts under state and federal law, and that they're entitled to compensation as a result. So now, setting aside the declaratory judgment piece, I want to focus on the defamation part, because all of Lively's alleged defamatory statements, both in this lawsuit and in Baldoni's lawsuit against Lively, arise out of that CRD complaint.
But things didn't stop there. Baldoni's lawyers decided to drag
its salacious article well before TUI contacted the Wayfair parties the night before publication for quote-unquote fact-checking. After the New York Times months of plotting with the Lively parties, the Wayfair parties got hours to respond. The New York Times complains of group pleading, claiming it cannot tell the allegations against it from those against its co-conspirators. Of course, it is premature to require the Wayfair parties to specify the acts taken by the New York Times in connection with its scheme with the Lively parties. A jury will determine the truth based on the evidence, but the Wayfair parties' allegations are clear. The New York Times argues New York bars 2 California tort claims. But as the Wayfair parties suffered damages in California, where nearly all make their personal and professional homes, they may bring claims under the law of California, which has a strong interest in protecting its citizens.
While the world tried to make sense of the swirling accusations, Lively's own legal team managed to make things even worse. In an attempt to protect her privacy, her attorneys filed to keep her personal text messages and private conversations under wraps. At first, it seemed like a victory when the judge approved the motion. But the small win quickly backfired. The ruling meant those messages could still be introduced as evidence in court, and if Baldoni's lawyers played their cards right, they could be made public anyway. And when that evidence began leaking to the press, things went from bad to catastrophic. Among the leaked evidence was an audio recording that shook the entire narrative to its core, a 2 a.m. voicemail from Baldoni to Lively, rambling about their amazing chemistry and his desire to spend more time with her. The message was shocking enough, but then came the bombshell. Baldoni insisted the recording was actually part of the film's promotional material and had been taken completely out of context. Lively, on the other hand, claimed it proved Baldoni had become inappropriately obsessed with her. The public wasn't sure who to believe, but one thing was clear: this was no longer just a legal battle. This was Hollywood's nastiest soap opera playing out in real time. As the chaos mounted, Baldoni's legal team turned their focus to Lively's publicist, Leslie Sloan. In a wild twist, Sloan was accused of masterminding a smear campaign against Baldoni, with claims that she had weaponized social media influencers and manipulated headlines to favor Lively's side of the story. Baldoni's lawyer declared that Sloan had created a digital army to spread damaging content, portraying Baldoni as a Hollywood monster. Sloan's legal team fired back, calling the allegations a desperate attempt to deflect from Baldoni's actions. But with every accusation, the public's patience was wearing thin. And just when it seemed like this case couldn't get more chaotic, Baldoni's legal team pulled out their biggest weapon yet, a planned website dedicated to publishing evidence that they claimed would completely dismantle Lively's allegations. The site, they promised, would feature never-before-seen messages, video clips, and insider testimonies proving that Lively had manipulated public perception and dragged Baldoni's name through the mud. Lively's team panicked, scrambling to file an emergency motion to stop the website's launch, claiming it could taint the jury pool and ruin her chances at a fair trial.
As a lawyer, what are my thoughts on the Justin Baldoni Blake Lively lawsuit? Well, they're going to make a lot of money, some of those lawyers, I'll say that. Hi, my name is Nigel Burns and I'm a trial lawyer in Southern California. Well, it's early days for what is actually going to happen with these lawsuits. What we do know is in December 24, Blake Lively filed a complaint with the California Commission, and then New York Times published an article, and Justin Baldoni ended up suing the New York Times for $250 million, and then filed a defamation lawsuit, etc., against Blake Lively, her husband Ryan Reynolds, who is no longer the most popular man on the planet, and their publicist. What I would say would be a strong case, just objectively from what I know, is the case against the New York Times, because it does appear that they published an article without verifying hardly any of it. And that's, maybe acceptable in the National Enquirer, etc. But on a, publication like the New York Times, that could very well be defamation. But the trial is going to be March 2026.
It all revolves around fake allegations towards Justin Baldoni, right? So Blake Lively's claiming that there were sexual assault allegations towards Justin Baldoni, and Justin's like, I have all the receipts, I have all the videos. So it's just a lot of drama.
Do you think this is fake beef like Drake and Kendrick?
No, because I think that for either one of them, it's just detrimental to their career. You know what I mean?
But it ends with us. I want to make this very clear. Ryan Reynolds, if you get past this clip of us talking about your relationship, just know, I don't care. I still love you, man.
Oh, that's
I
nice.
love your movies. I love everything you did.
I actually hope things get so complicated and terrible for you guys that you guys break up and then I slide into Blake Lively's life. That's what I hope.
But the courtroom wasn't the only battlefield. Hollywood's elite were also being dragged into the mess. Hugh Jackman, a close friend of Reynolds and Lively, suddenly found himself entangled in the controversy when Baldoni's team demanded he testify. Meanwhile, rumors swirled that Ryan Reynolds had secretly influenced the Deadpool script to include a character suspiciously resembling Baldoni, a veiled jab that reignited conspiracy theories about Reynolds' involvement in the smear campaign. The judge overseeing the case had finally had enough. Frustrated by both sides' relentless media campaigns, the judge threatened to move the trial date forward if the public mudslinging didn't stop. But the damage had already been done. Social media was in a frenzy, with fans dissecting leaked text messages, voicemail recordings, and every tabloid headline. The narrative shifted so frequently that no one knew what to believe anymore. Meanwhile, Lively seemed unfazed by the growing chaos. In a bold move that left everyone stunned, she appeared at the South by Southwest festival in a striking pink latex outfit, smiling for cameras as if her life weren't in complete disarray. It was a daring statement that seemed to scream, "I'm still winning." But behind the scenes, her legal team was in panic mode. In a final desperate attempt to salvage their crumbling case, they presented emails between Lively and her co-stars to bolster her claims. Instead, the messages appeared to contradict her previous statements, giving Baldoni's team even more ammunition to claim she had lied all along.
There was actually no allegation of sexual harassment until the lawsuit was filed.
The public perception of Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds was shifting fast. What once seemed like a brave fight against misconduct now looked increasingly like a tangled web of manipulation, misinformation, and PR warfare. Baldoni's team, determined to clear his name, continued their assault on Lively's credibility, vowing to expose what they claimed was a calculated smear campaign designed to destroy him. With both sides refusing to back down, the courtroom war shows no signs of ending soon. Whether Baldoni emerges as a vindicated victim or Lively reclaims her once pristine image, one thing is certain: this scandal has officially become the most chaotic Hollywood meltdown of the decade. And as the drama spirals further into madness, no one is safe from the fallout.